Mr. Wim, what a great pleasure to see you again.
Mr. M, good day.
Mr. Ginsberg, Mr. Sarton, good day to you both.
My business is already concluded, Mr. M, so I will leave you with Mr. Sarton.
By no means, Mr. Ginsberg. My business is with both of you.
Mr. M, you sound concerned. What may I do?
The March issue of your journal ISIS contains a review of my father's academic work written by Mr. Ginsberg. I would have expected that an article published during the 20th memorial of his untimely passing from this earth would consist of a sober evaluation of his scholarly impact. Imagine my shock at what I'd read.
Mr. M, I apologize if you found my tone inappropriately critical.
The tone I could forgive. I am familiar with the cut and thrust of the Academy, but your characterization of my father and his research was unconscionably misleading.
If I may, Mr. M, I read Mr. Ginsberg's paper with great care, and although I acknowledge it occasionally displays the overly passionate language of the recently graduated scholar, which I say with all respect to yourself, Mr. Ginsberg, it is nevertheless an extensively researched contribution, raising several important questions about your father's conclusions on a
Did
matter
those
of...
questions merit the language used? Was it necessary to charge my father with, and I quote, a deep-seated apologetic bias? Was it necessary to assert, again I quote, much of the evidence which Duhem adduces in support of his thesis is palpably far-fetched? And was it necessary to characterize his change of views as comedy? Are these the words of a scholar or the barbs of a partisan?
I admit to the barbs, Mr. M, and I apologize for your distress, but in full fairness, a half-dozen choice phrases in a 21-page paper is positively respectful, considering the language typical of the field.
Mr. M, I fully appreciate your discomfort with Mr. Ginsberg's criticisms, but in my own defense, I will note that I took great care to remember your father's illustrious career in my own editorial in the same issue of ISIS. Surely by publication of Mr. Ginsberg's difference of opinion with your father's historical research is more than outweighed by my praise
Yet
of
in
it.
20 years, how much of that research have you published in ISIS? My father left thousands of pages of notes, many hundreds of full manuscript pages representing what became his greatest scholarly achievement, and yet despite your professed fascination with the subject, none of this work is done within the cover of your journal, nor do you even comment on it.
My dear Mr. M, in your own words, your father's academic legacy still lies almost completely in the form of handwritten notes, both unsystematized and unedited. Barely a tenth of it has even been prepared for publication, leaving the vast majority of it completely unprintable. Surely you cannot expect me to publish my thoughts on your father's work before it has even been proofread, let alone edited. I will remind you that when the very first volume of his book was published, I reviewed it in ISIS immediately. I am certain you will recall my comments were overwhelmingly enthusiastic, and I looked forward to the completion of the remaining volumes.
I grant you that. I would not charge you with a deliberate campaign to discredit him.
Did I not refer to him as the learned physicist of Bordeaux, to whom we already owe so many beautiful historical works, full of new facts and original insights? Those were my very words.
You were most gracious in your assessment. My father was greatly touched.
Miss Duhem, I thank you for seeing me today. I know you have travelled very far. I am gratified that you feel so free to speak your mind to me directly. I wish we could enjoy the pleasure of your company further, but alas, the editorial work of the journal awaits me. Mr. Ginsberg, I beg your forgiveness also. I do have other business.
Certainly, Mr. Sarton. Mr. M, I offer my apologies again. I will say your father's work was indeed extraordinary.
Mr. Sarton, thank you for listening to my concerns. Mr. Ginsberg, I accept your apology and thank you for it. Good day to you both.
Well, George.
Well, Benjamin.
You do have other business.
I do, but it can wait. Shut that door. We need to talk.